the maturity of your analytics and the accessibility of your data, etc. So I'll cover how we approach getting the most out of your data or building an analytics capability here at a high level. In future sessions, hopefully we'll do some deeper dives into some of the methods we use and some of the directions we would take depending upon the type of business you are. So imagine a world where analytics is a transformative engine for your company. It's also used as a service, or it's invoked as a service across your enterprise. Imagine you've got data governance across your organization that's making sure that you've got the highest quality of information shared as possible. Imagine that your culture is really enabling analytics to change your business processes. Your what-if analysis results, or the fact that you might even have what-if analysis available, are plugged into your operations. Imagine you've got real-time insights into your operations and your customers and your servicing. Imagine you've got your key rules, terms, and KPIs and your metrics clearly defined, documented, and agreed upon across your enterprise. Imagine that world where your analytics capability or analytics is a core part of your enterprise. Well, I think that's where we intend to take our partners. So how do you build a strategic analytics capability? Well, this is really our agenda. This is what we're going to walk through today. And these are at a very high level, like I mentioned, steps that would help you achieve that. First and foremost, you align with your business, understand where they are, where they're going. You understand where you are as an analytics organization or an IT organization. You educate each other in the business on the possibilities of analytics. Then you outline where you want to be. What's your target, your to-be state, and what's your roadmap for getting there. And then you obviously build that capability. There's a number of different approaches and techniques you can use to build that capability. And then once you've got it up and running, you exploit it and obviously maintain it. So let's jump right in here with the first step, aligning with the business. Now, many organizations they come with an IT-centric approach on things, and they build what they understand an IT organization should look like, whether it be an ITIL focus, whether it be a data management focus. But you know, if you build it, they may not come. So in order to build an analytics capability, you need to make sure that the business is aligned with you, so you need to understand the vision and the strategy of the business and the rest of the company. Similarly, the business needs to understand you. They need to trust the data that they're using. They need to trust the capability that you're offering and that you're serving. They also need to understand the potential and the business value of analytics, and they need to be lockstep with you and really to be the champion across the enterprise to build and exploit an analytics capability. Now, once you're lockstep with the business side of things, the entire enterprise is clear on where you want to go and what the possibilities are, you need to understand where you are. So this is an industry agnostic maturity model that we prescribe to. We've got more specific industry analytics maturity models for retail or healthcare, for example, that help to outline where you are using contextual examples that are more specific to your domain. So one end of the spectrum, you've got your descriptive analytics or your descriptive techniques or capabilities. A company might be highly driven by spreadsheets and trying to understand where pieces of data came from and how different people are using data, and really are using it to look at what has happened, as opposed to the right side or the prescriptive side of the spectrum, where data is not just used internally but shared with partners. Analytics are driving behaviors and maybe identifying new business models, and your business processes are really woven around analytics. So you've got true closed-loop business processes that are creating analytics and are consuming the results of them as well. So we like to think that our charter as an analytics organization is to move organizations along the analytics maturity curve. So before you can understand where you want to go, obviously you need to understand where you are. And we've got some techniques on how to do that. Next step, I mentioned, educate the business on the possibilities of analytics. What's the value or ROI to the business? So you need to make sure that the business has thought about the cost and the revenue possibilities for leveraging analytics. You need to have a straw man for potential use cases that are specific to your industry. We have a number of what we call use case value maps that are specific to verticals or industries, and also specific functions that span different verticals that help prime the pump for capability development and investment for our customers. Now, McKinsey, as many of you have probably read, McKinsey did a study saying that there's going to be a shortage of talent necessary for organizations to take advantage of analytics. You know, part of that shortage is in the deep analytics skills to derive the data, but more importantly, by 2018, they estimate that there's going to be a shortage of 1.5 million managers that won't have the know-how to use analytics and big data to help make better business decisions. So this education on the possibilities of analytics is a problem and a big opportunity for your organization and our partners to help solve. So once your business, once the rest of the enterprise has bought into the value and the potential of analytics, they really need to understand how to engage with or invoke the capability that you are developing. So they need to understand when they have identified an opportunity, how to work with you, and how to position their organization to deal with or consume the results, whether that be to embed the analytics in some sort of application, or maybe they need to readjust their business processes, or whether they need to make an organizational shift. So now that you understand where you are and where your business is going, you should have an understanding of where your analytics capability needs to be. So having that future state in mind now allows you to create a roadmap with phases and specific activities to build that data architecture, the technology architecture, the organizational architecture, and the business processes that you need. So you jump right into building the capability. So an important component of building that capability, or a capability that can support the needs of your growing enterprise, and its guaranteed increase in data production and analytics consumption, is to build a framework that ensures that you have the appropriate governance of your data and data operations. We here at DI, as well as many organizations, we subscribe to the Data Management Association's framework for ensuring a sound foundation. It's the icon here, or the image here, is really the high-level framework that the Data Management Association prescribes to. So we leverage that framework as a straw man for what a mature data organization could look like. Now, every company is different. Many, if not most, don't need an entire implementation of the entire framework. And because of that, and beginning with the end in mind, it helps to understand which components of this framework are needed when, and it allows you to deliver business value in an iterative, stepwise fashion from the bottom up. So as you build that capability, you're going to tackle 3 different work streams. The business value itself, you need to deliver on business value. You need to deliver on an improved data management capability, and you need to deliver on an improved technical and data architecture. In many cases, finally, it helps to follow a proof of value approach if you're initiating the development of a new component of a capability. For example, a new data technology, a new data architecture technique, or maybe even a new data domain. So again, not every case is going to look the same, and our approach begins with the same steps for everyone, and the most important part of that is to begin with the end in mind. So I mentioned we like to build from the top down and the bottom up at the same time. Now, as you begin to build the capability and start to roll out the value or the components of the capability, there might be an early adopter penalty, a small one, to building those core components of the capability. So I like to use the example of building a jetliner while in the air. So your customer in this case simply wants to get from point A to point B. That is their core requirement. So the minimal viable product, or the MVP, to meet that requirement is going to require engines, a fuselage, guidance and direction control, landing gear, fuel, and pilots. So once you're in the air and servicing that core need, getting them from point A to point B, then you can start to add features that improve the customer experience. So maybe you add seats, maybe you add lavatories, maybe you add dining service, better engines to reduce travel time, etc. So the point is that your ROI increases exponentially over time as you begin to deploy that capability to other areas of the company. Now, it's important to get some quick business wins early on as you're starting to build that capability to make sure that, that you lose the champion in the business and you lose the focus of the business as well. So I mentioned that as you're building those capabilities, there's 3 work streams that you'll likely tackle. One, obviously, you need to deliver on business value, and I mentioned you need to show business value early. Also, you will tackle your data management capabilities, so your governance, your metadata, et cetera, those components of the DAMA framework. And then obviously you need to build and deploy your technical capabilities, so your architectural data elements, your tools, your integrations, your visualizations, and your analytic models. So those 3 things will be included on your roadmap, and you're going to be sequencing those important competencies in a way that focuses on the delivery of real measurable value via iterative releases of your analytics capability. So many times you're still going to need to prove the value of something you're delivering. Maybe it's proving the value to the business in order to get funding, or maybe it's to prove the value to yourself, to understand whether you need to purchase a specific technology, leverage a specific technique or methodology, or hire or use a specific tool. So our proof of value approach is one of those components of our methodology. It allows us to minimize time, dollars, and resources to iterate through a business use case that allows you to deliver a minimal viable product that proves the value of the technology, the methodology, and the people. And typically, a use case that we would tackle would take between 4 and 8 weeks, beginning with the discovery of that use case and the delivery of that minimal viable product. And I will say that this iterative proof of value approach is done in close contact with both the business and IT sides of our clients. Typically, the business is there to help you make sure that you're working through noise in the data, that you are delivering a product that is interesting to them and is relevant to them. You are working through refinements of the model to make sure that you've identified insights or a product that is usable to them in their day-to-day operations. Similarly, the IT wants to understand how you're using the technology and what methods you're following. They want to understand how you're coding, how you've stood up a cloud platform, how you've installed the software, how you've integrated a certain piece of data. So it's a very hands-on approach both with the business and with IT, and typically it involves at least twice weekly meetings between both of those groups as you iterate through the short initiative. So once you've built the capability and understand that the building never stops, it's time to really exploit what you've delivered and what you've developed. And the first step to exploiting that is to evangelize the capability. So your business is obviously, well, hopefully they've been a champion to what you've been working on and what you've done. Now it's time to tout those success stories for those early wins and those quick adopters across the rest of the organization, so that you can start to leverage your investment and build the momentum through the rest of the organization. You're also going to want to start to explore how that capability can be leveraged across the organization. That might be by adding and addressing new data sets. Those might be internal data sets. They might be external data sets. They might be data sets that have sat in isolation or untouched for a number of years. They might be log data from your business tools. It might be social streaming data that's sat there unanalyzed. Now you might actually look for new uses for or consumers of those developed analytics applications. So let's say that you've developed a predictive model or something, a model that's now identifying the key factors for a tool or a product breaking down in the field. Well, your initial reason for developing that predictive model, that predictive maintenance model, was so that you can understand when the tool needed to be taken offline and maintenance needed to be performed. Well, having that information on what caused that tool to failure or what's going to cause that tool to fail now allows you to improve your spare parts forecasting, allows you to improve your R&D process so that now you're testing for different variables and different environmental factors. So you need to really understand, and your business needs to understand their business processes so that you can fully exploit the value they've created. Similarly, you need to use your analytics as a vehicle for transformation. So your capability now with its people, process, and tools are going to be embedded into processes that are going to measure performance and then analyze that performance. And you've created that closed loop now that is allowing you to improve your business processes by understanding new targets that need to be met, new changes that need to be done within the business process and organization and architecture, and where you need to even create new processes to maybe address new customer needs from a product or a servicing standpoint. You also might want to investigate sharing of your information with your partners or even including your partners' data into your data management environment. That'll allow you to better understand the full supply chain, for example, the supply chain network. It might be able to give you better insights into how a product is being used and served. It might allow you to create cross-sell and upsell opportunities with the partners that are in your ecosystem. And then finally, in a similar vein, you might look to monetize that data. So you're starting to develop, you might start to develop insights into your customers and products and into the performance of your partners' customers and products and services that they would find useful for the improvement of their business model. And then obviously, there's a maintenance function. Now this is something I see a lot actually when people are starting to invest in big data and advanced analytics specifically. So the moment after you deploy an analytics asset, whether it's a daily report or an operational dashboard or an analytic algorithm, it becomes out of date. So what I mean by that is the data has changed, the business environment has changed, your external environment has changed, and if you're assuming that you don't need to change what you're measuring and how you're measuring, as a result of that, you're really yourself and you're limiting the value and the buy-in for your analytics capability. So you need to make sure, for example, that for the analytics models that you've deployed into your organization, those models that you've operationalized, that you're continuing to measure their performance to make sure that they're still powerful and relevant models. And you need to leverage a maintenance organization that's continuing to look on top of that. So that'll allow you to continuously improve your analytics products and applications, and allow you to also improve your capabilities, so the what's and the how's and the who's of how you do things to make sure that your capability is humming along, that that's seen as valuable to the enterprise, that you've created a symbiotic relationship with the rest of the organization. And then very importantly, you're going to want to integrate with the performance management system. So what I mean by that is now that you're starting to now that people have trusted the metrics and they agree with them, now that you've started to leverage analytics and you're pushing people to better leverage analytics so that they're making better decisions and they're reacting to what those decisions are telling them they need to do. So maybe it's maybe you need to increase or decrease the staff of your call center operations. Well, in order to make sure that people are adhering to those metrics and that they are making use of the analytics, there needs to be some sort of ownership for doing so, and your benefit system, your performance management system really needs to take that into account so that people are being held accountable for what the metrics are telling you should be done. And then ultimately also, you're going to want to make sure that you, as you start to turn things into a more repeatable process, you want to transition lower resources. So some more of the things that are earlier on considered more strategic for you, you're going to want to turn those over to a more routine resource type. So for example, those analytic models that may have been developed by senior data scientists early on can now be managed and maintained by data scientists that are not as senior. So that's really what I mean by the exploit and maintain piece of your capabilities. So wrapping back up, again, I mentioned this is very high level, and I believe we're going to be having some follow-on sessions for a number of these topics where we'll get to go into a deeper dive, but I wanted to make sure I touched on kind of the high-level points and approaches for building a strategic analytics capability, but you need to make sure you're aligned with the business. You need to understand where you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how do you handle data today, what are the technologies that you're good at, which ones are you bad at. You need to educate the business and yourself on the possibilities of what you can do and what the market's doing with data and analytics. And then you need to outline where you want to be from a technology standpoint, from a skill set standpoint, from an investment standpoint. Then you build that capability and you exploit and maintain it. So where do we help? And this is where I think our next step would be from going through the DI capabilities, more specifically the analytics capabilities at DI. So we've got a method or a service for facilitating those strategic alignment sessions between the different areas of the business. We can also come in and conduct an assessment of your current environment and help you identify what your future state needs to be and develop that strategic analytics roadmap. And that's not just a high-level roadmap. That is a detailed WBS or work breakdown structure of the phases, activities, roles and responsibilities, and timing and dependencies that need to occur in order to build the business processes, your organization, your data architecture, and your technologies that need to exist in order to deliver upon that analytics capability. We also have a discovery workshop model that helps to identify high-priority analytics use cases for your company. As I mentioned earlier, we leverage our value maps and our industry expertise for specific verticals and business functions to come in with suggestions on high potential use cases that are relevant to your industry. And if you happen to be a current customer of ours, we bring that dimension as well. So knowing your business domain, knowing your business environment, knowing your data environment, that even gives us another leg up to help ensure that we can give you an idea of use cases that are relevant to you. And then we would help you to brainstorm additional use cases and work through a prioritization exercise, make sure that those use cases are well defined, that they're well understood, and that they are sized and prioritized appropriately. So we also execute upon any use cases that might be identified as a result of those workshops, whether those be big data and advanced analytics use cases, whether those be use cases to deliver components of a data warehouse or visualization exercise. We leverage, as I mentioned earlier, that proof of value approach to help execute through those use cases to make sure that we can prove and help you prove the value of the use case itself, of the data that supports that use case, of the technologies that are involved to execute that use case, of the people, whether those be yours, ours, or someone else's, and of the technologies that are involved, and of the methodology, excuse me. We also have a methodology for developing your analytics COE or capability. So the standards, methods, tools, roles, and processes that you would stand up and execute to run your capability or center of excellence. And we have different approaches on doing that, whether it be to define and design that center of excellence to be handed off to our clients for them to execute, whether we define and design those and act as the beachhead for that center of excellence, turning it over to your organization, or ultimately whether we run that capability through the duration that you require. And then obviously we have a data governance approach where we come in and design your data governance organization and framework, leveraging that data management association framework. And then so those are more of a capability driving services. We also offer more capacity driven services around areas, project management, data management, business intelligence, advanced analytics, etc., including project management, business analysis, data architecture and data management, data vault, data integration, data analysis and visualization, and advanced analytics and big data. So you'll note that, in this entire discussion, I don't think I've mentioned a specific technology once. Within my group, we are considered technology agnostic. Now, we have competencies in a number of different tools along what we call the data value chain, whether it be experience in Oracle databases, SQL Server databases, integration technologies such as SSIS, Informatica, visualization technologies such as MicroStrategy, Tableau, Business Objects, and advanced analytics capabilities such as SAS, R, and big data such as a number of different Hadoop distributions, including Cloudera and Hortonworks. We prescribe the right technologies to fit the needs of our customers. We don't standardize on a specific one. However, we build our competencies so we can assess the right tools to use when. Now, having said that, I want to give a quick overview for those of you that aren't familiar with data intensity as an organization. So we are, at a high level, we really have a global portfolio of Oracle solutions and services that are delivered as end-to-end solutions for our customers. So from a vertical standpoint, from a vertical IT provider, we offer Oracle database and engineered systems, Oracle applications, and Oracle BI and analytics. So where my organization would fit in is into that horizontal layer where we offer analytics professional services across both those Oracle verticals. But as I mentioned, we also offer our services agnostic to a technology that would include any type of application or database system. And then obviously we also offer application managed services, whether that be RMS, remote managed services, cloud hosting, on-prem, off-prem, and then obviously functional and technical services and support. A little bit of background on our scale and our size. Data Intensity has over 700 professionals worldwide. We've got our operations centers across the U.S., including in Bedford, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston, in the greater Cincinnati area where I'm actually located in Covington, Kentucky, Atlanta, Georgia, London in the UK, and then a couple of different operations center in Hyderabad and Chennai in India. And then we've got a number of data centers in the US. And just from an infographic standpoint, we've implemented and we've supported over 700 implementations of Oracle EBS. I've performed more than 5,000 upgrades, more than 150 cloud migrations. We support more than 15,000 databases, both Oracle, SQL Server, MongoDB, MySQL, etc. And we have over 14 Oracle specializations. So I think that's the extent of our presentation. This is an example of some of our key logos that you can take a peek at. And I think, Phil, this is where we turn it back over to Q&A with, I guess, a quick shout out to our presence at Oracle Open World for our attendees that might be headed their way out to San Francisco next week.
Yeah, and certainly if anyone on the call is attending Oracle Open World, we'd love the opportunity to meet with you in person. So please reach out to us. You can get us at Oracle Open World. or send an email, of course, to info@dataintensity.com, and we'll get that scheduled for you. We are going to go over to, we did have some questions come in. I would encourage anyone at this time, if there's any additional questions, please feel free to go ahead and type them in there, and we'll get to them. But we'll start with the ones that we have so far. The first one, how do you go about measuring where someone is on the maturity curve?
That's a good question. It's generally done through a number of meetings with our clients, and we meet with different areas of our client's organization, and we have a I don't want to call it a canned survey, but we have a specific survey / questionnaire that has a number of different dimensions on it that allows us to really tackle very specific components of analytics at our customer. So we have pointed questions to understand information usability, analytics capabilities, governance, management, integration, architecture, existence of a center of excellence for whether it be for analytics or a PMO maybe, or maybe for data management. And that really goes into an assessment of both the current state and the future state through some facilitated discussions with them that allows us to plot where they are along that spectrum. So obviously, maybe not obviously, but as you go through those interviews with our clients, many of the responses will be scattered across the maturity spectrum. So if you picture a scatter plot diagram, it'll allow us to essentially hone in on where they are from an enterprise standpoint on that maturity model. Now, many will be more mature in some areas than others, and as you start to discuss where they want to be or where you want to be, many times you can't simply take a leap across 4 levels of maturity. There needs to be a stepped approach towards achieving that level of maturity. You're not immediately going to start to use prescriptive analytics if you don't have a way to embed those analytic results into your operations, whether it be a BPM or a business process tool itself that allows you to build the decisions or automate the decisions, or whether you even have an application infrastructure that allows you to embed the code of the analytic models into the applications that are used by your employees.
Very good. The next question. You mentioned using analytics applications. What did you mean by that?
So analytics applications, and some companies might refer to them as analytics as a service. Really, an analytics application solves a specific business problem, and it does so by using a standard set of inputs and delivering a standard set of outputs. So an example might be some sort of forecast model for a specific industry or function. So for example, a grocery store might have a specific forecasting model that is developed as an analytics application. So the outputs of that might be the actual analytic model with the analytic results that tells you that you're going to sell this much, or this much is going to be demanded during this time period. Or maybe it's an actual visualization that is delivered as a result of that analytics application, or maybe it's a combination of both. So over time, we've developed and we are developing a number of analytics applications, just like you might have a methodology that is considered an accelerator for performing some sort of initiative or project. These analytics applications are accelerators to leverage your data. No, in my opinion, we can't assume that your analytics applications are going to solve the business problems without tuning them, but that's the point. You've got a framework or a signature for invoking that analytics application that is tuned with your customer-specific data and information.
Our next question, is it absolutely necessary to purchase one of the many analytics tools that are out there?
I guess that depends. So I mentioned earlier we're a technology agnostic company, and many companies, depending upon their needs, depending upon their their approach towards technology investment might be build versus buy. So that obviously plays into it. And some companies might need some technical capabilities that require a specific tool, and only specific tools are good at it. So I guess the answer is it depends. If you really want to achieve your future state, you might need to invest in a tool. Now, there are certainly a number of open source tools for doing probably everything for any of the technical capabilities that would be required to support an analytics capability, whether it be an open source database such as MySQL, whether it be Hadoop by leveraging the raw Hadoop Apache framework, whether it be a visualization tool, or whether it be even a data science analytics library such as R. So not necessarily do you need to pay for a tool to deliver upon an analytics capability.
Great. And our last question here, of course, unless I get any others, how long is a typical engagement with data intensity if the customer is at the bottom of the maturity curve?
Another depends question. So it depends on what the engagement is and what the desired result is. So if someone thinks they're at the bottom end of the maturity curve and they recognize that they need to go farther, but they don't know how far or what that needs to look like, an engagement to put together to really assess their needs and help them develop their future state, a very detailed future state roadmap, is probably a 4 to 6 week exercise. A proof of value approach to solve a specific business problem might take 4 to 8 weeks in itself. If you're talking about building a very robust analytics capability that leverages a mature data management structure and framework and delivers a very mature capability, will certainly take months to deploy. Months, at the very least 6 months, upwards of a year.
Yeah. So that will conclude today's call. I appreciate everyone who joined today. Of course, thank you, Mike, for taking the time out of your schedule to give us a presentation.
My pleasure.
And as Mike mentioned, we will be out at Oracle Open World. I just want to throw that out there one last time. So if anyone on today's call will be attending, we'd love to meet with you in person to talk to you. And also, as Mike mentioned, there will be some follow-up presentations to this to really dive in a little bit deeper into some of the key topics that Mike had discussed. So please keep an eye out for those as well. With that, everyone have a wonderful afternoon or rest of the morning, depending on where you're at. And thank you.